Last night was fun, exciting. There is absolutely nothing easy about the 23rd district in Texas. I would argue it's the toughest district in America for a bunch of different reasons. One, the size. Two, the different type of people that you have to represent. And then three, we have had every major crisis you can possibly imagine has been in our district, right? From the border crisis starting 3 years ago to the worst school shooting in Texas history in Uvalde to 53 people here illegally being found dead in the back of a trailer truck. I mean, you name it, it has been nonstop for us. We very much have been at the center of this border crisis, whether it's Del Rio with the Haitians under the bridge a couple years ago, whether it's El Paso with the Venezuelans under the bridge just this past Christmas, or whether it's El Paso, which is currently kind of in a constant state of emergency with some of the folks that are assaulting either Border Patrol agents or National Guardsmen or bum rushing the ports of entry. This is the 23rd district, and you better have thick skin, and you better be ready to go. And this has been my seventh election. We won all seven elections, and we did that by really just going to work. And I'm just so grateful for everyone that helped throughout this process. First off, I'm grateful to the folks that came out and voted. And I know while 30,000 is a low number for a runoff, I believe it was the highest vote pool or amount casted in the state of Texas. And I can't stress that enough. For everyone who came out and voted, thank you. Whether you voted for me or whether you voted against me, doesn't matter. You know, it's my job to represent everybody, and I look forward to continuing to do that. But it's important for us to get our voices heard, and your voice was heard last night. I'm grateful for all the people that just worked their guts out. We have built a machine. We have built a political machine to withstand every possible incoming you can imagine. But I look at this victory, and it's about being humble, and it's about getting stronger, and it's about finding out, listening to folks, meeting with more people, and you're going to see, how do I go hat in hand and try to find ways to make sure that everybody is on the same page. You're never going to please everyone. As a retired Navy Master Chief, I know firsthand you're never going to please everyone, and nor should you try to please everyone. Just do the best job you possibly can, show up in good times and in not so good times, and ultimately deliver. And that is what our campaign has done. It is delivered over and over and over again. And from the policy side, we've delivered. But from the political side, we've delivered as well. We have gone to bat. It wasn't just words. It wasn't just TV. I mean, it was literally ground to ground, block by block, kind of a knife fight. And I knew exactly that's what it was going to take, because my first election was a runoff. And that's just the level it takes. I am excited too, though. I mean, the people that the people that vote in runoffs are the most conservative of your constituency, and those are the folks that got us elected last night. And I'm honored to be the Republican nominee for the 23rd district of Texas. I don't take that lightly. Just grateful, once again, just grateful for everything. I got to drop off my boys today. I'm in San Antonio. It's been a long race. We'll spend the next few days just really making a lot of calls, thanking all the people that and I can't thank all those endorsees enough too, right? From Governor Abbott, which was a big key to our success, to Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, big key to our success. National Border Patrol Council, they were great. All the sheriffs that helped us throughout, San Antonio Police Officers Association, San Antonio firefighters they were out there, on fire basically at all the polling stations here in San Antonio, to all the local folks, commissioners and ex-commissioners and judges and ex-judges and just people, just everyday people, ranchers, farmers, mayors, everybody just coming out and being helpful. It was really exciting. There are no easy races. I don't care what you run for. There is nothing easy about it. It's a pretty tough time in politics right now. Things are pretty nasty. Everyone's at each other's throats, and you have to really put that aside and go out and deliver. Ultimately, this has been about delivering. And it's also, once again, it's about being humble in victory, and it's about listening to your constituency. And my job is always to represent my district. What does my district want? What is the best thing for my district? And I will continue to do that. I've only been in politics 3 years, so I think there's clearly some growing to do, and I look forward to that. Once again, just being able to connect. If any of y'all know me, I mean it's very personal for this campaign. I'm a very personal person. A lot of people have my phone number. A lot of people have access to me. A lot of people. I just believe that's what the founding fathers had intended for, is you were a citizen legislator, you came back home, you lived in the community, you work in the community, your kids go to school. My son goes to UTSA, my daughter graduated from UTSA, my mother graduated from UTEP. It's just very personal, and I think as long as we keep that going, good things will happen. I'd also say too, the campaign was built on results, was not built on rhetoric, was not built on other things, noise, if you will. It was built on delivering results, real tangible results for real people. And we're going to continue to do that. Not everything has to do with money either. In many cases, it's how do we prevent the federal government from overspending? The national debt is through the roof. How do you prevent legislation from getting over the finish line? Bad legislation that is going to cripple Americans. In many cases, it's how do you, make these regulatory obstacles that make it so hard for everyday Americans. And so, yes, while in some cases it's about passing legislation and it's about getting things appropriated, the other half of the battle is making sure things don't get appropriated, right? The wrong things don't get appropriated, making sure, there are no more layers upon the bureaucracy of the United States. So I'm just excited about it. Just really grateful today. Really, runoffs are just brutal. They're absolutely brutal. There's nothing like it. And I've already won 2 of them. So I also think iron sharpens iron, and I am as sharp as can be. We will continue to get better. We'll continue to get stronger. We will continue to listen. I was raised by my grandparents, and they really taught me how do you do more listening than talking. We will continue to just do the best I possibly can. And I love serving this district. This district is absolutely amazing. I know we get in the news a lot because of some of the tragedies that's happened, but if you haven't been out to Big Bend out in West Texas, I mean, that is a gem. That is one of a kind. If you haven't been out to some of these other parts of the district, border communities, Del Rio is a great place. Laughlin Air Force Base is absolutely amazing. They got great air shows out there. Eagle Pass always gets a lot of attention for the border crisis, but there's so much more to that community. Has very rich in culture. Uvalde, once again, is a great agricultural community. The people there are just wholesome. I grew up not far from Uvalde in Camp Wood, clearest water I've ever been around. And then you've got, Hondo and Devine and Natalia and Dehennis and Lacoste and all these other places where you're really seeing the growth of San Antonio start to kind of change some of those areas. And the people that live there are fighting tooth and nail. How do you maintain that growth, right? And have a positive development of their county, but also maintain their identity for who they are. So this whole district is just absolutely incredible. Fort Stockton, Alpine, Pecos, just great. We've been able to do a lot of wonderful things. Appreciate last night. Once again, tonight was about, or today was really about being grateful. And I look forward to November. I look forward to continuing this campaign. Let's go ahead and take a couple of questions, and then we'll let everybody get back to their day.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much. We're going to start with Mike Board.
Hey, Congressman, congratulations, and thank you for doing this call. We appreciate this today. I wanted to ask you, you faced an opponent in this runoff who is from outside of Texas. He was backed by people from outside of Texas, like Congressman Matt Gaetz from Florida. I was hoping to get your thoughts on whether this runoff shows the limits of outside influence on Texas elections.
Yeah, Texas is kind of an interesting place. If you're a Texan, you love being a Texan. I mean, it's an identity. I mean, one of my good friends, Jerry Beck, had a shirt. He goes, "I'm an American until Texas secedes," right? And then I'm a Texan. So I mean, just like Texans are all about Texas, and I think that absolutely played a part. I mean, I would say, one of my disappointments, and I hope to remedy this, is I'd love to have Wembanyama's endorsement next election cycle. I think that would sew up a lot of issues. I jokingly say that I'm a huge Spurs fan, and I tell you what, it's pretty tough for me to watch and be rooting for the Mavs here against the Wolves. But I say these things to go, it is very local. It is very personal. We just do things a little different here. And while the outside influence clearly plays a role, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, it's not like I won by 100 points here, right? It clearly plays a role, and the national politics play a role, and what other people have to say play a role. But at the end of the day, this is our district, and we are going to determine the future of it. But I want to determine that future together. I want to determine that future by listening to more folks, walking through different situations. And I'd be the first to admit, like, I have made mistakes. I will continue to make mistakes. I'm doing the best job I can. And I'm also starting to learn too, in Washington, I often get two choices, and that choice is bad and worse. And to be able to kind of walk through people or listen to folks and make them really just have a seat at the table. For me, this is always about, how do we get a seat at the table? How do we make sure that we bring this direct flight from San Antonio to DCA? How do we make sure, in San Antonio, we get a brand new VA hospital, a state-of-the-art VA hospital? How do we make sure Fort Sam Houston, where our honored people are buried, it doesn't look ancient, that we have new modern things? And then if you're some of these smaller communities, I mean, I'll give you an example. Out in West Texas, out in Marathon, I mean, that school doesn't have a C. I'm talking about from the niceties to the most basic things. What about us, right? There's some places that don't have indoor plumbing. I mean, we worked real hard with the city of Von Army to help on that project, and that's just the beginning. There's a lot more things that have to happen. Community centers in Natalia, that one's going to be great. Community centers out in Jeff Davis County, that's going to be great. There's just so many different things that we've delivered. But to your point, this race was about Texas. Hell, I ran a Pace Picante sauce ad, which I just thought was just a lot of fun to do. And I mean, we wanted to inject some humor into the race. These races get really, really tough, and they get really brutal at the end. And that Pace ad was a way to just inject some humor into it, because I think that's what our district is. We're serious. We fight. We like to fight. We like to win. We're always ready to go to battle, but we also want to be respectful of one another too. And that's where I'm at. I mean, this isn't about gloating. This isn't about spiking the ball. This is about basically being humble and going, all right, now how do I listen to the other folks that that did not cast their vote for me this round? Why didn't they cast their vote for me? What can we do to make sure that they feel as if they're represented? I think that's one thing in America. So many people are so upset because they don't feel as if they're represented. And we want to change that. We want to it's a tough district. It's a lot of ground to cover, but we want to make sure everyone feels that they're being represented in the manner they're imposed. And it can't just be words. It has to be actions. It has to be actions in the way you've done things. I'd also say too, is I have a very conservative voting record. and I will continue to have a very conservative voting record. But I'm also, I want to solve problems. I'm pragmatic in how I deliver things. I will sit down with anyone. I don't care where they fall on the political spectrum. I want to have debates. I want to have discussions. I want to have people that will influence me, and I want to influence them. I mean, that's part, to me, what being a legislator is. Like, how do you be a statesman and sit down and talk through some of these very difficult issues and then ultimately deliver? I think there's not a lot of people willing to do that right now. Everyone wants these sound bites, and I get it. I mean, I give sound bites all the time too. But how do you sit down and really listen to people and have a conversation? I look forward to doing more of that.
Thank you, Mike. We are going to go to Marianne Martinez next. Marianne, are you with us?
Hi, Congressman, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you just fine, Marianne. How are you
Sorry
doing?
for the great. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. Congratulations. Because it was such a close margin, I wanted to ask if you know if there was a particular group or geographical area that pushed you over the edge, if you guys have that information yet. And number two, I think a lot of people are wondering what if the results had gone a different way, what would this district, given the importance on the border, what would it look like in the hands of as Michael asked, either an outsider or someone who many people consider to be extreme?
Yeah, first, I would argue that it wasn't a small margin of victory. 7 votes is I won by 400 more votes than I did the first time that I won in a runoff. It was a big win for us. I say that jokingly because our team, of course, as we're tracking everything, 407. That's a pretty tight margin. And I was joking, you should have been here on election night when we won by 7 votes, and then ultimately 39 votes after everything was said and done. I think what it says is you have to be proud of just the race that you've run. I mean, once again, I'm a retired Navy Master Chief. I fought in 2 wars. I'm not the guy that you want to go poking your finger in my chest. You're going to get everything I got every single time. That's just the way I operate. And our team behind us has been all in. So many different young people going out there, knocking doors, making calls, writing letters. People within the community writing letters, urging their folks to get out. I mean, I still got to look at the numbers on kind of where everything's at. I mean, I have a little bit of idea. I think we did really well in Uvalde, and I'm appreciative of that. I know we did really well in Bexar County. I just the way I look at it, it's less about the numbers and like, oh, where'd you do great, not, and it's more about overall. It's almost like the score is now 0-0. And how do you go to every single county, and how do you get better? And how do you just interact more, talk to more folks? And once again, I've only been in the seat a little over 3 years. I just still haven't met a lot of folks. It just takes time. It's not like as if I grew up in politics and I know all these people, and it just takes time. And honestly, it also takes time for people to trust you and be able to go, you said you were going to do this and you delivered on it. And also sometimes if you can't deliver on it, it's not necessarily your fault, or it's not necessarily their fault. Is all these other things in place. But my commitment is it's the way I've ran every race, and I firmly believe it's the reason I've won all 7 races I've been in, is I will show up over and over and over again, nonstop, no matter how small your town is, no matter how big your town is. I will continue to show up. I think another large part of our success, I spent a lot of time, energy, and resources on our first responders. One thing that I learned out of the Uvalde incident was first responders weren't on the same network. They could not talk to one another. In any emergency, that is the first response. Everyone wanted to talk about these other things, and I'm going, well, how do we solve that? And we have literally have delivered tens of millions of dollars for the district to just bring communications to everybody. I'll give you an example. We have a project this year in Medina County that's going to bring 550 radios to first responders across everywhere, not just one little city or not just one part of the county, everywhere. And we've been replicating that throughout the district, right? Especially if you're in some of these rural communities. If you're in Terrell County or Brewster County or Hudspeth, some of these really large counties, you lose communication. So it's some of those basic things, and there should be nothing political about someone having the ability to communicate with one another. And so I think that's a part of it too. And then to the other piece of it is I have worked tirelessly on the border. I know the border problem set inside and out. I mean, hell, I was on the border yesterday in Eagle Pass doing a TV hit, sharing the message, and it wasn't, oh, hey, it's election day, vote for Tony Gonzales. It was going, hey, the numbers are down because Mexico has an election coming up, and I fully suspect after this election is over in June, the numbers are going to spike way back up. And oh, by the way, the numbers may be down in here in Texas because Governor Greg Abbott has pushed very hard to secure parts of our state, but the numbers are way up in California and Arizona and New Mexico. So, it all depends on how you look at it. And oh, by the way, we're still on pace for 1.3 million people to come over illegally. So, while everyone is saying the numbers are down, that should not be the new normal in many cases. So I know the problem set inside and out, and I am genuinely looking for a solution. Why? Because my district demands it. We are tired. We are exhausted. We're done with this hell. We want to get out of it. We're tired of the high-speed chases. We're tired of having our property, being exploited. Well, we're tired of just the overall amount of resources that we have to take, right? It is our hospitals that get consumed. It is our schools that get consumed. It's our housing. I mean, this is another piece of it too. It's great to have all these law enforcement come from all over the state and the country to come and help out. But guess what? You can't get a hotel room, or you can't rent. In some cases, I did a ride along with, and it's not just along the border. It's all throughout. I did a ride along with the new police chief in Uvalde, Homer Delgado. And I'm like, hey man, I just don't want to be in an office. Give me a ride along. You tell me whatever the hell you want me to see. And he takes me to this very impoverished area. He go, here's the deal, Tony. There are no houses to rent in Uvalde because all the houses that are rented are, in many cases, they're going to law enforcement. So if you live there, once again, if you live here, you're the one that's getting put at the back of the line. That's why you're upset. You're going, I want this to end. So I am absolutely committed to making this border crisis end. I'm also committed to holding those responsible for what is occurring. I mean, it can't just be somebody gets a blank check. Blank checks don't solve problems. And it can't just be, there are no repercussions for your actions. What I found in Washington, everybody blames somebody else. It's always somebody else's fault. And I'm trying to solve the problem. I'm trying to go, it is our problem to solve. All of us. I don't care where you fall on the spectrum. Nobody wants to see people dying and drowning and being children exploited. And nobody wants to see communities overrun that can't have basic resources. That you imagine you dial 911 and there's no beds for you to go to. So you got to go an hour away. It just is unfair all the way around. So I know the border inside and out. I live the border. I will continue to advocate for real solutions and make sure that all Americans are safe, because this is no longer just a Texas 23 issue. This is a United States issue. The amount of fentanyl that's coming over and killing our kids, the terrorist threats is what I really worry about. And I spend a lot of time and energy on that. I've spoken long enough. I want to appreciate everyone for getting on the call. Please follow up with us. We'll make sure, you get stuff, quotes or anything that you may need. I'm grateful. Once again, today was really about me just being grateful for those having the trust in me to represent them and be the Republican nominee. And the way I look at it is I will continue to show up, listen to people, regardless of where you fall on the political spectrum, and find a way to ensure that you have a seat at the table and your voice is heard. And thank you again, everybody. I appreciate you getting on this call, and let's stay in touch. Okay. God bless y'all.